You are listening to the Get That Out of Your Mouth podcast.
All right, welcome to this week's episode of the Get That Out of Your Mouth podcast. Let's
say it right.
Yep, let's say it right. My name's Todd, and with me today is the Sean Hunter to my Corey Matthews, Dave. Dave, how are you?
Not too bad, man.
That's
Thanks.
Awesome. All right,
Thanks.
Jerry is not with us today.
Yeah.
He's worked a long week and he is tired. I can't blame him. 9 straight days in a row. I don't blame him for being the least bit tired. So we're going to run it solo. Just the two of us. Just the two of us.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to run just the two of us today. We're going to have a little heart-to-heart conversation about things and, see where that takes us and see what happens. So, Dave, how the hell are you?
Like I said, not too bad. Not too bad. Glad to be back.
Yeah.
In the booth.
In the booth.
Yeah. So one of the things that I was thinking about for bringing it back would be like.
Well, we haven't gotten there yet. We haven't talked about what our topic is. Dave, would you like to introduce today's topic?
So today's topic is like throwback. So stuff from our childhood that we'd like to bring back and go. What's going on?
Yeah, baby.
So, yeah, today is we're calling it Throwback Tuesday since we are posting on Tuesday. And in actuality, full disclosure, we are recording on Thursday. So, throwback.
Yep.
As Dave was saying, we are going to just have a discussion about things that we would want to bring back from our childhood, what we recall from the 90s that made our childhood great. You see all those memes on social media like, if you grew up watching this, if you grew up playing with this, if you grew up eating this, your childhood was awesome. Well, let's go back and see what made our childhood awesome. So, with that, Dave, what do you, if you could bring something back from your childhood, something from the 90s? We both grew up in the 90s. Dave was born in 91. I was born in 87. I'm more of a 90s baby than he is. But Dave, if you could bring back something from the 90s, what would you bring back?
Something that came to my mind, like as you were introing it, was the different colored ketchups.
Like when they brought out the green and purple ketchups?
And the blue one, yeah.
What? See... Look, it was cool for a hot second, but it was just weird. Having purple ketchup, it just looked like mold. You put purple ketchup on your burger. Those that don't put ketchup on your burger or hot dog, you're sociopaths. I don't care what you say. Putting purple or ketchup. Green, green, okay, because... relish is green.
Yep.
It's excusable, but nothing, absolutely nothing, realistically should be blue or purple. It just looked like somebody beat the living shit out of my burger and it was bruised. No. I mean, I get it. It's cool, unique, fun thing, a way to get, kids to stand in the aisle and be like, "Mommy, I want the ketchup. It's purple."
Yeah.
But at the same time, fucking no. Fucking no. There does not need to be purple ketchup. I'm glad that that's gone. I'll be very honest with you.
But the one that came to my mind immediately was the blue one, though. I don't know.
I mean, what about it? The fact that you would eat it and then shit out a Smurf later on?
Yeah,
It just looked like Smurf jizz.
how else do you think Smurfs come to be?
All right, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. But I don't know. That's something you and I disagree on because
Okay.
I never, like, don't get me wrong. We had it. My brother always wanted it. My mom thought it was the most disgusting thing in the world. It also, it really didn't taste that great. Regular, Heinz 57.
Yeah.
That's the way to be. The red ketchup. That's the way to be.
Okay.
I truly believe that.
I don't think I remember a difference in taste though. To be honest with you,
There was a very slight difference.
Mhm.
There was because something in the dye that made it green and purple and blue and whatever other colors there were. It gave it like a slight difference in taste. It wasn't anything extreme.
Mm-hmm.
Like blind taste test, it tasted like ketchup.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I don't know. I have to. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I gotta disagree with you, man. Like it's
That's
just
fine.
weird.
It was just one that just came to my head, and I
Okay.
figured I'd throw it out there.
All right. You know what I would love to bring back,
What?
which I think would be great, and I tried to introduce my nephew to it at one point. Fucking Pogs.
Yes, Pogs.
Pogs were the shit. For those who are not millennials or Gen X or boomers or anything like that, basically if you are Gen Z or later, Pogs were these little circles.
Like cardboard coins.
Yeah.
Almost.
They were like cardboard coins with pictures on them. There was licensing for different things. I remember I actually had Simpsons Pogs. The Bart Simpsons Pog was my favorite Pog. Absolutely loved it. I had sheets full of. They even sold sheets, like how people collect like baseball and basketball and football cards and whatever, hockey. There were sheets that had, there were sleeves for Pogs. I had a book full of Pogs, and I had
Like
sheets,
a binder. Yeah.
like a binder. And for those that don't know, Pogs, there was actually a game. I don't know if you ever played the game, Dave, but there was actually a game to be played with the Pogs.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the Pogs are all face down, in a stack.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then you take a slammer. So for those that don't know, again, we're talking about Gen Z people here. Slammers, they were Pogs, but they were heavier. They were thicker. They were heavier. Some were made of like a hard plastic. Some were made of metal. But you would basically take the slammer. You would slam it down on the pile and try and basically make the pile go all over the place.
Yeah.
And anything that was face up, so if the picture was facing up, then you take it in your pile. And you just keep going. You take the slammer, you slam it down on Pogs, and you keep going till all the Pogs are turned over. And then you just count up who has the most.
Mm-hmm.
The worst was when you played for keeps. Whoever won got to keep what they won.
Yep.
Which I ended up losing some of my favorite Pogs at one point or another, and it really made me angry. But it's okay. I actually think I have Pogs upstairs as I'm thinking about it. I probably have some. So
I only had a very short-lived Pog experience.
well, you're younger than me. You're like 4 years younger
Yeah.
than me, so that makes sense. I was in elementary school at the time that Pogs were really huge. I was in like third grade. You were probably still in preschool at that point.
Yeah.
So Pogs probably weren't a big thing for you.
Not really.
So you probably came up, you were right there at the craze for like Tamagotchis.
Tamagotchis was the one that I was gonna say actually next. Those little for those that don't know, it's like basically like this little tiny, almost car key remote.
It was
size,
an egg shaped,
And it was
a tiny little
egg-shaped,
egg shaped
little computer,
almost like a keychain.
keychain, and it had like this little creature inside that you had to feed and all this other crap, kind of like what's that?
Clean
game?
up after it
Sims?
when it takes a shit.
Well, it's kind of like Sims, I would say before Sims was like even invented.
Sims, maybe.
Like,
If I were to compare it to anything today,
mm-hmm.
I don't even think you can compare it to anything today.
No.
I don't think
It's
there's
r-
anything today that would be comparable
Mm-hmm.
to a Tamagotchi. I mean, I feel like the closest thing would be like almost like Minecraft.
Yeah.
You know, where you have to like create something and take care of it and manage it, and you know, if something happens, you have to clean it up, you have to make sure
Mhm.
everything is taken care of and good and wonderful. That would probably be the closest comparison, but that's even a far-fetched.
That's pretty far stretched too.
Yeah, that's a very stretched comparison as well. So, you know, there's that.
Yeah. Oh man.
Tamagotchis
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
I remember, because Tamagotchis didn't turn off.
No.
Once they were on, they were always on.
And you always had you would have to feed them every so often.
Right. It would beep
and
at
pet
you,
them. Yeah.
you know, and play with them, and you know, again, like I said, clean up after, you know, they use the bathroom in the screen. I remember my teacher, I was probably in 4th or 5th grade when they became popular.
Mm-hmm.
My teacher confiscated Tamagotchis, and then all of a sudden you just hear these little beeps, you know, coming from the teacher's desk. And
if you didn't take care of them, they died.
right, if you didn't take care of them, they died. And then all of a sudden you just see these little X's, and you know, people like, son of a bitch killed my Tamagotchi. And it's, oh, you're having a funeral and, you know,
Yeah.
all that, you know, and you have a little memorial at recess for your Tamagotchi.
Yeah.
I remember we had a few memorials for our Tamagotchis in elementary school, and it was quite interesting. You know, we had the 10-gun salute and all that. Yeah,
10-gun salute.
Yeah.
Jesus.
all of our Tamagotchis were veterans. So
Yeah.
that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But I'm sorry to all the veterans. We thank you for your service.
Absolutely.
But what else, Dave? What else are you thinking? Like, what if we could bring something back, or you know, reminisce about the 90s? And we want everybody's input as well. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, if you can come up with something that you feel you would love to bring back that we didn't mention, or something that you remember fondly, or something along those lines. Hell, if you're older, and if you're older than us, grew up in the 80s, what would you bring back from the 80s? Or what would you bring back from your childhood? You know, I know my dad always talks about when he was younger, he had, you know, it's actual metal trains and actual metal erector set, you know, and from what I understand, that was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the stuff that they played with back in the day was really cool. But it's not what we played with. Anyway, don't get dirty. Don't get dirty.
You saw
That
it.
that came later. That was in the 2000s.
Yep.
Played with other things. Anyway,
Something else that I was thinking was Saturday morning cartoons.
dude, Saturday morning cartoons,
I remember
they were the best.
and not for anything. I also remember like being able to record episodes on VHS while watching the thing,
Yep.
so you could just fast forward through
Yep.
commercials.
I remember there was I had episodes of the real Ghostbusters on VHS that I recorded.
I remember those.
My favorite episode, because I watched it a million times, was the episode where they went into the ghost world
Mm-hmm.
and had to fight the ghost of Al Capone.
I remember that. Yeah.
That it was such a cool episode, and I own the entire series of the real Ghostbusters, and I have watched that. It's just I agree with you. Saturday morning
Just
cartoons.
like waking up and running downstairs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sitting there eating a bowl of Fruit Loops.
Or Fruity
Sitting in
Pebbles or
your
whatever, yeah.
Spider-Man or Maya K's Ghostbusters, underwear, and just enjoying your Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah.
Absolutely, there's no question.
Just they just don't hit the same these days.
No,
Yeah.
and we're gonna have that conversation another day because I know Jerry said he wants to be part of that conversation.
Yeah.
But I agree with you.
The
Saturday
vibe of
morning
Saturday
cartoons
Mhm.
just not the same anymore.
Yep. What would you bring back, Todd?
If I could bring back something from the 90s, I would probably say, I the things that I would probably bring back, we already talked about, but
Other than the ketchup.
other than the ketchup, please. No, I mean, I feel like certain like TV was so great.
Mm-hmm.
You look at some of the TV shows that are so iconic. I kind of touched on it earlier. Boy Meets World is one of my
Mhm.
all-time favorite shows.
Yeah.
You know,
Or Saved by the Bell.
Saved by the Bell, Friends. They had all these different shows that are now considered iconic, and there's only a handful of shows nowadays. I mean, you look like ER, NYPD Blue.
Mm-hmm.
I believe well, no, I'm talking about like back in the 90s.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure Law and Order, started in the 90s. There's all these different shows. Now, Law and Order is still an exceptional show.
Mhm.
But now you also have Grey's Anatomy and stuff like that. But there's all these shows that are iconic and they change the game.
Mhm.
So I don't know if I would necessarily bring them back, but it's definitely something to think about when you reminisce on the 90s.
Mhm.
How iconic some of those shows were. And some of the things that you look at. Something I would not bring back is AOL.
Oh God.
Like that dial tone, it was just that was rough.
And it used up a telephone line.
Right. You used it like you couldn't
you-
be
you-
on the phone while using AOL.
Unless you had a separate telephone line just for your computer.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That sound, though. Yep, that's it.
Welcome. You've got mail.
Yeah. Then we go into Nickelodeon. But yeah, no, that's something I don't miss at all.
Yeah.
Dial up internet, dial up AOL.
Mm-hmm.
I don't miss that.
Certainly not.
One thing I don't miss. Go ahead.
Dodgeball.
They still play dodgeball
Do they?
to a certain extent. When I worked at the school, I used to play dodgeball with the kids. It wasn't the same because I
With that
remember
big
when I
Red
was
rubber ball of death.
well, yeah, the big
doom.
red rubber ball of death. See,
Yeah.
at camp we used to call it bombardment.
Yeah.
At camp we used to play when we played bombardment. We used semi-deflated basketballs and volleyballs and the red rubber balls. Like we threw. I got a broken nose because well, it wasn't broken. They broke blood vessels in my nose because somebody nailed me in the face with a volleyball. But that was absolute insanity.
Yeah.
It was absolutely wonderful. It was the greatest thing in the world. But I agree with.
No safety rules.
No safety rules. It's like, try not to throw it at somebody's face.
Yeah.
Like, there was no rule, like, don't. It was, do us a favor.
Try not
Please
to.
try not to. I don't feel like having to write this up.
Yeah.
And then if you did it, it was like, come on, man, I told you not to. But
You're out.
right,
At worst, you're
no,
out.
you didn't get in trouble.
Yeah.
Right. Safety rules were definitely different back then, but nowadays people are pussified. But that's besides the point. That's a topic for a totally different day.
Snowflakey.
Yeah. You know what I don't miss about the 90s?
What?
Some of the haircuts.
You remember the rat tail?
I had a rat tail. Okay. I was probably like
Oh, no.
6, like 5 or 6. My neighbor Eric had a rat tail, and I just thought it was so cool. So I got a rat tail. I thought it was the coolest thing. It was the ugliest looking thing. There's a reason it was a rat tail,
Yeah.
not just a tail. No, nobody should have had a fucking rat tail under any circumstance. But I had one. That said, the mushroom cut,
Oh, dude, yes.
right? Like Leonardo,
Or bowl cut, yeah.
not even the bowl cut, but the mushroom cut, where it was like parted on either side of the forehead. You had the line down the middle, the separation down the middle,
Yeah.
and it was kind of like a bowl cut, but not. So think about like Home Improvement.
Mm-hmm.
The all 3 kids had a mushroom cut at one point. One point or another, each of the 3 boys had a mushroom cut. It was at that point it was considered high fashion. Guys got it. It was considered to be very popular. I never had one. My hair never grew like that, thank God. But I had the rat tail. But you take the good with the bad. What I had what I thought was called the Caesar cut, where you had everything on the top of your head was flat, like all your hair was flat, but then that little bit up front was kind of spiked up and like swooped up.
Yep.
And
I
like
had
a
that.
small little spike right at the front,
Yep.
right at the top of like the front of your hairline.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had that. My cousin had that for the longest time, up until I would say maybe 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And he's 31 now.
Yeah.
And he had it up until he was probably like 20. But that's
Not
him.
bad. Not bad.
Shout out to Tyler, much love. But yeah, like that's something I don't necessarily miss. Like the weird hairstyles that were in the 90s. Girls didn't have so many weird hairstyles.
No.
The hairstyles for girls were weird in the 60s, 70s, well, more the 70s and 80s.
Mm-hmm.
But boys had the fucked up hairstyles in the 90s. All right.
You're not wrong.
All right, I'm gonna, and I talked with Zach about this the other day. Zach's a friend of ours. I talked with Zach about this. The popular thing for boys, I don't know if you did this, but I did because I wanted so bad to be popular, was highlights.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I have brown hair typically when I actually have hair. I'm bald now for those that don't know me, but when I actually had hair, I had brown hair, and I had blonde highlights.
Mm-hmm.
For a number of years. I was doing
Same.
blonde highlights, and I thought it was the coolest thing. All the guys were doing it. It was the popular thing to do. Celebrities were doing it. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
Girls seemed to like it. Not on me, but girls seemed to like it. And it was great until I got to 8th grade. Because when I got to 8th grade and I went for blonde highlights, the bitch did cheetah print. Yeah, my 8th grade picture, and I have my yearbook upstairs. My 8th grade picture has me with cheetah print hair, cheetah print blonde highlights. I'll have to show you this later on, but yeah, cheetah print blonde highlights, probably in that Caesar cut as well with the flipped up hair. I'd have to look. I have my school ID upstairs too, because we found it somewhere in the house. So I have my school ID from middle school. But yeah,
I definitely had the highlights. I remember having like my mom would do the highlights, so she would put on this plastic cap and then have to pull the hair through.
Right.
And I remember her just like yanking the fuck out of my hair.
Yeah. So I got that done. I went to the salon, like the haircut place for it, and they would use this little thin needle. They would put the cap on, and they would use this thin needle to pull hair through the cap, and yeah, same way. Then they would just, coat my head and hopefully not make me look like a skunk. Instead, they made me look like a cheetah. So
I still can't believe that.
I'll show you the picture later. But yeah.
What else?
I mean, I don't necessarily know what the toys are like today, but I will say we had some badass toys.
Like Transformers.
Like Transformers, Power Rangers toys, Ninja Turtles toys were the shit.
Yep.
And I don't care what anybody says. Kids today know nothing about the Ghostbusters Proton Pack. Okay? I grew up with Ghostbusters toys. My friends had them. I had them. I had the Firehouse. I had the Proton Pack. I had a trap. I had the action figures. I had the car. I had... If there was a Ghostbusters toy, I was damn near had all of it.
Yeah.
Same thing with Ninja Turtles. The only thing with the Ninja Turtles, like I only ever had the action figures. I never got the van. I never got all the the big stuff with them, but I had the action figures.
Yeah. As far as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles toys, the only ones that I remember getting were the side characters because they were like cheaper or something. And that's all my grandparents would get were the cheaper ones. But Transformers for sure. One of the things that I remember was they used to have like this castle set up, and like you'd have like different colored knights to like play with, and like their arms would just go straight up and down.
The little Tykes one.
Yes.
My brother had that.
Yeah.
We used to love to play with that when we were little.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah.
We had the castle with the knights, and we had the island with the pirates.
I didn't have the pirates.
We had the pirates.
Oh yeah.
We yeah.
What else is there?
Nintendo 64.
I didn't get that one. I was always the hand-me-down. So
dude.
like I got the hand-me-down Sega Genesis, and that I
mean,
didn't get the
nothing
Nintendo
wrong
64.
with Sega Genesis, but
No.
I maintain, and people will fight me on this. Bring it.
The
You can
N64 was probably the best console.
N64 in terms of consoles was the best in my opinion, hands down.
It had like I still remember the way the remotes were shaped, like 3 little fingers with a directional.
The joystick in the very middle that you had to, figure out, be like some fucking acrobat in order to make it actually work. Like there was no reason for that controller to actually work. I still don't know how it happened, but it worked.
And it was super comfortable too.
It was. I don't understand it, and you could hold it 3 different ways realistically.
Well, I think part of it was it was kind of like perfectly symmetrical for the most part. So it just made everything super comfortable.
It was designed to be held proper. Like
And
you look at like a Nintendo controller, you look at a Sega controller, something about them, the way that they were designed, they were not truly designed to be held. It wasn't until the N64 and PlayStation came out that they made controllers that were designed to actually be held properly. Your hand would cramp up holding onto a Sega Genesis controller because you're holding it in a way that isn't natural.
Yeah. It's
Where
like this,
whereas right,
yeah.
exactly. Whereas holding an N64 controller, it's like holding two rods
Mm-hmm.
almost. Like it's more comfortable, more natural.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
A more comfortable position for your hand, yeah.
right. It also helped when you turned 14, 15. It gave a more natural feel. Anyway, sorry.
Wow, you went there.
I went there. Anyway, um, but yeah,
Crash Bandicoot.
Crash
was- I
Bandicoot
know
was
you
the
were thinking
shit.
that, yeah.
Crash Bandicoot was the shit.
I
My
also,
my brother has a Nintendo Switch, and he has Crash Bandicoot on it, and I played it. I played Crash Bandicoot. I played Crash Bandicoot 2, Crash Bandicoot Warped, and I loved it. It brought back so much, and it was great. In the same way, you keep getting killed in one spot, and you curse at the game, and
yeah.
yeah,
The other one that I was thinking was Spyro, which is I know you had said previously when we talked about it, you were never really a big Spyro
No.
fan, but I just remember and I didn't even have the game. I was playing it over at a friend's house,
right,
and just getting the different rush abilities,
Mhm.
and being able to shoot fire was pretty
Right.
fucking cool, and glide around.
Yeah.
So,
You know what I remember, which I really loved when I can't remember if it was on PlayStation or PlayStation 2, but when you would get the game, when you would get the system,
mm-hmm.
you would get the demo disc.
Yeah,
And they had all these different demos for games, and that's where I first played Crash Bandicoot. That's where I first played Spyro. I played Parappa the Rapper. There you go, Parappa the fucking Rapper. Okay, I played a snowboard game, which I can't remember what the hell it was called, but there was all these different games that you could play. I played Tomb Raider for the first time on there too.
yeah,
And you don't get that with systems anymore. You basically you buy the system, you have to buy the games. Like there's no more demos. There's no more demo discs.
No.
I think that was a great thing because it made people want. Now, granted, in order to make a demo disc, it would take so much now because of what goes into a game. You can't make a demo disc of Call of Duty.
No,
You just can't.
you really can't.
It's just not possible.
Yeah,
You can't make a demo of Madden. You just can't with the way the graphics are. It would cost almost as much as making the whole fucking game.
yeah,
It would cost more than making the whole game. Like the system would go up in price by at least $200 just for the damn demo disc.
probably.
Like it's ridiculous.
Yep.
But I don't know. What other than all of that, I don't know what else I would bring back from the 90s. I mean, it's cool to reminisce about. It's cool to sit back and think about. There's things that we talked about that I haven't thought about in a long time.
Yeah,
Like colored ketchup.
yeah.
Still don't get that.
We came back full circle.
Yeah. But yeah. Again, if there's anything that you guys out there can think about that you would bring back, that you would want to bring back, that you want to reminisce about, anything that you think of with fondness, let us know.
Mm-hmm.
Leave it in a comment, send us a message. Yeah,